it's the same with a bit of like people say passion and desire. It's another thing you can't really teach. You've either got it or you don't. You can teach. I mean, even hard work.
Well, Gabba's had quality. That was what Gabba's had. He just, like I said, he was better than that level. And he obviously went back up levels, but he was better than that level. He was better than most of the centre halves that he was playing against, because he was just more talented, and that was why, like I said, some of the things that he used to do in training, you just used to think, why are you at this level? You should never be at this level. But as I said, he just found himself at that level. He was comfortable. He was happy. He was banging goals in, and he ended up moving back up. But yeah, what a player.
Yeah, I remember I used to watching the scores, but at the time he used to be always, you just think, oh, well, he's going to score, and he scored this sort of nearly every week, didn't he?
He did.
Unbelievable.
He did score most weeks, Gabbers, yeah.
Yeah, so that sort of in your time at Darlington, then I can say there was a few good players there. There was like Craig Liddell, Martin Gray, Neil Aspinall, players like that who went on to have good careers in football. Who was your sort of, would you say you were closest to at the time then at Darlington?
Oh, of those lads, I'm not sure really. It was a little bit of a funny one at Darlington, because we had a few, like I said, we had a little bit of a clique, I would say. You would probably say the lads that were on big money.
Yeah.
So there was a few lads that were on big money for that level, and they sort of tended to mix together. And then you had more the local lads, and I sort of fell into that bracket because I was desperate for a club. I was local, yeah, I mean, friends of mine at that level, I don't know, he'd probably fellow goalkeeper, Chris Porter, Gary Pearson, lads that played a few games at that level. But obviously, listen, we all got on. Neil Heaney, great lad, left winger, played Arsenal, Manchester City, Borough lad, Michael Oliver, Peter Duffield. But to be fair, it was a real good change room. It was a confident change room. I think we went into every game, and unfortunately, I was actually injured quite a lot within that first year. I did my medial ligament twice, and but you went into pretty much every game thinking we're going to win this, and we did win a lot. Unfortunately, it didn't win the most important one, which is against Peterborough in the playoffs. But it was a nice feeling to be going into most games thinking, yeah, we're gonna win this today. And it's very rare that you get those type of moments,
Yeah, so like you say, you had a few good seasons at Darlington there then. What do you remember about the season when you got to the playoff final then? See, that was quite a good season apart from the end of it.
Yeah, it was. Do you know what? Like I said, it was an up and down season for me personally. I'd torn my medial ligament once. I came back from it, tore it again, and I knew we had about 7 or 8 games to go, and I basically knew that the other goalkeeper had a clause in his contract that if he played a certain amount of games, he would get another year. And I knew that basically he couldn't get another year, because if he got another year, that would mean I wouldn't get another year, or wouldn't get any more time. So I thought, I've got to be fit, and I had 2 torn medial ligaments, and then I pulled my thigh with about 8 games to go, and I just thought, I've got to play. And I had a few injections that I shouldn't have had away from the club, and I actually played in the playoff final with a ruptured thigh, and that was painful despite the injections that I had. But as a season, it was just sort of petered away the back end. We got to about 8 or 9 games to go, and then we started chopping and changing with the team. I think we'd been leading the division, then we started chopping and changing. Probably the last 8 games, I bet we never played the same team or the same formation more than 1 game in a row. So we probably didn't handle it as best we could. I think we played a couple of big games against Hartlepool in the semis, obviously big local games.
Yeah.
And we obviously we managed to get through against Peterborough. It's well documented. The preparation wasn't great. We're sitting on a train the day of the game, couldn't go down the day before. So we probably travelled 7 hours, and then played the biggest game of the season in horrific rain, and we ended up getting beat. And then the following season we came back, and players were just dropping left, right and centre. You know, this one was leaving, that one was leaving. The chairman had decided he was going to pull his money out. He wasn't happy that we hadn't got promotion. And yeah, players, there's nothing Odgie could do. Odgie was just saying, look, those players were due money, signing on fees, things like that, and you weren't going to get them.
Yeah.
So Odgie just sort of said, look, you're not going to get it. If you can find yourself a club, find yourself a club. And that's what tended to happen. So we lost Neil Heaney, Neil Aspin, Steve Tuttle, a few of the real big gabbers, a few of the big hitters. And it was a tough period after that.
Yeah, I think at the time, sort of, obviously, his hands were sort of tied, really, weren't they, with what he could do within the team, Hudson. Obviously, like you say, it was a bit of a strange time, wasn't it, really?
It was, yeah. I think it's been well documented. You know, there was a lot went on in the background, a lot went on with the players in the background, and it was just, it was almost keep your head down and just try and get on with football, because there was so much going off away from football that, the football was your release, really. So, but it was always going to be a tough year because we lost so many players.
Yeah, so looking back on the playoff final, unfortunately, like you mentioned there, you did lose the final. Just before the actual goal, Craig Little done a great tackle, if you remember. It looked like it's their play. I think it might have been Clark, was just about to go around you.
Right.
And Little done a great tackle.
Yeah.
I think it was just before the goal, actually. It was about a minute later or something like that. And then you initially done the initial save and then scored the rebound. But I think remember watching back the game, Darlington actually did play well and they probably had the better of the chances, really.
I think we did, yeah. I think we didn't take our chances. I mean, you talk about Craig Little. I mean, Craig Little was outstanding, you know, for the football club. He was the captain. He was the second best player, really. He was certainly our best defender. He was captain, fantastic for us. You knew what you were going to get out of it week in, week out, which was usually an 8 or 9 out of 10. 100%er. So yeah, you mentioned him making a great tackle. I mean, he made great tackles every game. So, but yeah, we should have won. We should have took our chances. But in any game, if you don't take your chances, you know, the other team might go up the other end and score, and that's what happened on the night. I had a reasonably quiet night, to be honest. 2 or 3 saves, routine saves, but they had one probably really good chance and they took it. So it was a nice experience to play at Wembley. But I've been there twice now. Been there twice and got beat twice. So yeah, not really good memories.
Yeah, with that first game that you mentioned there was over 30,000 people there, wasn't it? Must have been a great occasion for yourself. I mean, obviously the result wasn't the best, but it looked a great occasion anyway.
Well, I went there with Bristol Rovers and we played Huddersfield, and there might have been 40, 50,000 at that one. I was on the bench. And then when we went with Darlington, it was around about 30,000. It was a fantastic experience. Like I said, a strange one, because we literally just got off the train, bus to the hotel, left your bags on the bus, really. Quick food, back on the bus, straight to Wembley. And it was a long, long day. And, you know, like I said, you've got your family that has come down. You're trying to see them in the crowd and stuff. But, it was pouring. It was such a... I mean, I think they actually would have normally called the game off, I think. But they had another game on the next day or something like that. It was something ridiculous. But the weather was terrible. But, it is what it is now. You just look back and say, well, I played at Wembley, so...
Yeah, definitely want to tell the grandkids about it.
Yeah, definitely.
It sounds very similar to the time Middlesbrough got there, actually, in the 2015, I think it was the player playing against Norwich. They had problems as well getting down. I don't know if you watched the game. I was actually at the game, and the fans were there watching before the players actually got there. I think they had trouble in the traffic or something, travelling down in the morning of the game. It wasn't the best preparations.
Yeah, it's one of them. I mean, look, it very rarely happens. But I think the thing is, I think the Borough got there probably, you know, you have to be there now before kick-off to get your team sheets in and stuff. So I think they probably got in there 15 minutes before would have normally been in there. But again, you don't want to get there too early, because if you get there too early, you're too nervous, you're worried, you know, there's a lot going on. You'd rather not get there with 7 hours travel in your legs, which obviously we did. But it is what it is. But Yeah, no, obviously I'm the same as you. You know, I follow all the borough, yeah, that day it just wasn't to be, I suppose, that day. But obviously they got up the following year, so didn't do too bad.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, big games like that, obviously you look forward to them, but there's obviously always a bit of nerves as well. Even though the results always don't go the way you want them to, it's still something to sort of look back on, isn't it? Really, big games like that, it's good memories.
100%. I think, you know, as a player, you look back. You look back. You know, I mean, like I said, I played 250, 260 games, whatever it was, and there's only certain ones I remember, or certain as a goalkeeper, certain saves. You know, you probably remember 3 saves in your career.
Yeah.
Or big moments like a big game, making your debut, the last game you played. You don't remember too much about it, to be honest. Obviously, you don't think about it too often, but yeah, it's nice to say that you've. It's nice to be able to say, you know, looking back, for me, nice to be able to say I played for my hometown club, played in the Premier League, and I played at Wembley. Anything else after that is a bonus, really. So it's to make it as a professional footballer. One, you have to be very, very talented at any level, and you have to be very, very lucky. So, you know, people don't realise how hard it is. And if you've got those 2 things, to make one professional game means that you are in the top so many in the country at what you're trying to do. So, anyone that... the reason the lads that are at the very, very top is because they're the very, very best. And until you get exposed to that and you see, like I said, Brian Robson was a great example of, you know, probably best player I'd seen at the club at the time was probably Paul Wilkinson, John Henry, lads like that. And then Robbo came in and you just, wow, this is another level. So, and I only saw him for a little bit, and then obviously people like Stampy, you know, I sit and listen to Stampy, stories about Stampy, you know, what was this one like, what was that one like? Because you know there's levels and there's levels and there's levels.
Yeah.
And even within kids football, you know, there's your grassroots levels, all different level teams. Then you've got your development centre players. Then you've got your academy level players. And it's only when you see each level, you realise what the standard is and how good they have to be. And the lads that are playing at the very, very top, they are just outrageous how good they are. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. When you see those who have the talent and they have the hard work and sort of the determination, like you said, like Brian Robson had, they're just like 110%, aren't they? So when they've got the whole package, you can definitely see what it means to those as players and obviously as fans to watch them as well. See that they're giving their all.
100%. I mean, listen, I don't think there's any player very rare that a player would go out there and not give his all. Some days they have good days, some days they have bad days. They all have slightly different body language, but no one wants to go out and play badly. It just happens sometimes. You know, we all have days like that, regardless of what industry you're in. But like I said, from a fan's point of view, you watch, how come he did that, and how come he did the other. But listen, they're always trying hard. It's just the lads that maybe slightly less talented, but actually probably, you know, might win a big tackle or, you know, a big header or put the head in where someone else wouldn't. Us being English fans, we probably think a bit more of that than maybe an absolutely beautiful bit of skill that a foreign fan might, you know, prefer to see. But the lads at the very top, I mean, they're outrageous,
Yeah, or as some of the foreign fans would say, like when the players are diving, they say, "Oh, it's cute, it's clever." It's not. It's just cheating, if you ask me. But that's another story.
Exactly. Listen, it's cheating. You know, Harry Kane was getting hammered a few weeks back. You know, hey, listen, if it's your team and it's your player and he gets a little nudge, then for me, we've all done it. Why didn't you go down?
Yeah.
It's a nudge. Why didn't you go down? And when it happens against you, that guy's a cheating so-and-so. But when it's your guy, you're saying, you should have gone down. You know, so it's...
Yeah, it's all opinions, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Listen, that's why football's fantastic. We've all got different opinions. No one's right, no one's wrong. And that's why we all love it.
Yeah, definitely, mate. So I'll just finish off with a few more questions, mate. And like I say, thanks for your time.
Not a problem.
So the first one, who would you say was the best player that you played with during your career?
Brian Robson.
Brian Robson, yeah.
Like I said, for the reasons
Yeah.
outlined. He had everything: left foot, right foot. He could run, could tackle, could head it. He controlled the game, and that was at 36. So yeah, for a young lad, which obviously I was, watching someone like him, very, very quiet man, didn't speak well in a group, wasn't a ranter and a raver, but he led by example, and you know, everyone knows. Listen, he liked to drink, which he did.
Yeah.
We had a few pre-season episodes with him, but he was always up the next day, and he was always at the front of the running. And you know, there was a couple of sort of episodes where players, you know, maybe, I don't know, had overstepped the mark, and they were told, look, I don't mind if you work hard, you can play hard.
Yeah.
But you've always got to be up the front working hard. And that was his ethos. He said, you know, he was, look, yeah, so what? I like a drink. Yeah, I deserve a drink because I'm working hard, and I'll be there the next morning working hard. And he led by example. So yeah, he was the best player that I've ever played with.
That's it. Yeah, work hard, play hard. As long as you're doing the work hard, that's it. Yeah.
That was his ethos. Yeah.
Who would you say was the best player that you played against then?
Played against. Do you know what? Names wise, probably the biggest name that I will have played against would have been Oliver Bierhoff, who went on to play for AC Milan, Germany, won the World Cup, and we played an Anglo-Italian Cup for Middlesbrough out in Italy. I think it might have been against Udinese
Udinese, yeah, it must have been, yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those, and I played, and he played, and wow, what a player he was! He was again stood out, and then I think he got the move not long after to AC Milan, and but he stood out in that game. It was like, who's he? You know, I think he's in Germany under 21s or something like that. But good player, what a player!
Yeah, he didn't have a bad career, did he? Neither after that.
Yeah, he didn't do too bad, did he? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we sort of touched on it a little bit earlier, but who would you say was the best joker, like sort of the biggest joker in any of the teams that you played at?
Biggest joker. Well, in the youth team, we all used to take the mick out of each other. We all used to torture each other, really. Big joker, liked to laugh. Marcus Stewart. I was with him at Bristol Rovers. Went on to play for Huddersfield, Ipswich, Sunderland.
Yeah,
he was a character. He was a funny guy. You know, I'd love to cut people's gear up and hide stuff. But no one stood out as being absolutely mental. There's a podcast I listened to called Under the Cosh.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely hilarious. Some of the stories on that. Don't know if you ever listened to it, David, but some of the stories. Yeah, that is a proper podcast. That is great. As it's talking about adventures of footballers, isn't it? Yeah. But probably Marcus Stewart, yeah.
Yeah, I've spoke to a few people myself, and obviously they mentioned the people who played for Gazza, things about when he stole the team bus, and there's some definite stories out there.
Yeah. Well, Maddo, a good friend of mine, Maddo and Stampy roomed with him, and they're well documented, and some of the demons that Gazza has had. But I'm sure if you were in his team or in the change room with him, I bet you it was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, and the likes of the crazy gang from sort of the early 90s, always cutting people's clothes up, setting things on fire, all that sort of thing.
That's right, yeah, definitely.
It's good team building, I think, isn't it? Sometimes you can, like you say, with all the foreigners that came in the football sort of late 90s onwards, a lot of them don't really get the culture of sort of English football, do they? And the way it works.
English humour, English culture, and I mean, they still do it now. You see it now a lot on social media, you know, initiations, people singing, stuff like that. It's a little bit character building, it's getting to know people. And it's just when it oversteps the mark, you know, it can overstep the mark in some, but a lot of that has sort of been calmed down now. You know, like I said, you can't say certain things, you can't do certain things, and I'm not saying that's for change for the better or for the worse. It's just the way you deal with people maybe slightly differently now. But one thing's for sure, the game's moving in the right direction. That's for certain.
Yeah, definitely. Let's just hope we can all sort of get back to watching it as soon as possible. It's
That'd
definitely
be
a big
nice,
miss.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That would be nice, yeah.
So yeah, so we're just going to finish on the final question then. So what would you say was the best piece of advice you received in your career from either a coach or maybe your parents or somebody like that?
Well, the best bit of advice that I ever got off anyone was off my dad, and he just said, "Do your best," and if you do your best, then no one can, not that they can have a go at you, but did you try hard today? Did you run around? Did you do your best? And the answer should always be yes. Some days it'll go well, some days it won't go well. I've made mistakes in matches. I didn't mean to make mistakes. Did I try to save it? Yes. Did I not save it? No. But as long as you do your best, that's it. And I'd give that advice to anyone. I got it off my dad, but I'm sure I got it off all my coaches as well. Go out there and do your best. You hear a lot of people say, go out there and enjoy it. I don't really buy into that one, because when you're in that pressure cooker environment, you don't really enjoy it. You only start to enjoy it when you're a lot older, or you look back on your career, because at the time it's so intense. So it's hard to enjoy it. So if I'm talking to a young goalkeeper or a young player, just do your best and relax. That's it. It's not life or death. It's a game of football, and relax. And if you take that into whatever you do in life, I think you'll probably have more successes than failures.
Yeah, definitely great advice. That I think it's sort of like people going into war or people going into work. That's your thing, isn't it? You just got to do what you've got to do. You go in there, do the job to the best you can, and then hopefully you get the right results at the end. Whether it be in life or work or football, whatever it may be.
Definitely, David. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I say, I mean, my two boys play football. My eldest, he's 17. He's just got in the first team at Stockton Town. And my younger lad, he plays as well. Also plays for Stockton Town under 12s.
Yeah.
And like I say, I mean, they don't always play the best or they don't always have the best game, but as long as you can say like give their best, like I always say to them, just go up there, show them what you can do, try your best. If you make a bad pass and someone says, "Oh, that pass was crap," whatever, it doesn't really matter, does it? As long as you can say, "Well, you've got the braveness and the courage to go out there, try your best, try these things," then as long as you give 110%, that's all you can do, isn't it, really?
Oh, definitely. You see in kids football, you get in you see, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm a parent, same as you, is that, my kids aren't into sport. They just do whatever they want to do. And, you sometimes see, you see kids walking away and the parents are dressing down and do this, do that, do that. Listen, the kids, my take on it is, and, everyone is different. My take on did you try your best? Great, that's it. That's all I want of you. Did you try your best? And look, it's a kids' game of football. It's a man's game of football. Did you try your best? Yeah. And if the answer's yeah, which it should be, no problem at all. That's all you can give me. And that bad pass that you made, not a problem. And I think if you can always, no matter what you do, obviously we're in coaching now, is that we coach positive. You can say the same thing. You can bark at someone and say, "That's not good enough." Or you can say, "Can you do better? Next time that happens, can you try this instead?" And your player will say, "Yeah, I will do. I'll do that for you, Gaffer." Or you can bark at someone, "That's not good enough. You need to do this. You need to do that." And the player will put his head down. It'll go in his ear and out that ear, or it'll go in his ear and affect his confidence. If you say, you're just framing it differently. And that's what I think modern coaching is. Just if you frame it the right way, you'll get the right response. And like I said, from a goalkeeping point of view, I look at the goalkeepers at the Borough, and the two or three that I absolutely love. The main man that I loved recently was Darren Randolph.
Yeah, definitely.
Darren Randolph, and people don't understand. I watch Victor Valdez, and listen, don't get me wrong, Victor Valdez 8 years ago, only my opinion, was a fantastic goalkeeper. 10 years ago at Barcelona, but then he had a couple of bad knee injuries. He came to Middlesbrough, and I used to watch him rant and rave and shout and scream, and it was all for the crowd for me, because he was the one that should have come for the cross that Ben Gibson didn't head, or he was the one that, he was doing it for the crowd, as if to say, it's not me, it's you. And then he goes, and a lot of fans quite liked him. I personally didn't. I didn't, I thought he was a real weakness for the club at the time. And then you bring Dan Randolph in, and his calm demeanour and his composed, if the defender makes a mistake, he doesn't need a goalkeeper screaming, shouting at him, do this, do that, do the other. He knows he's made a mistake. He knows it, and the best way to deal with it is just, hey, forget it, next one, come on. And that little look or that little bit of, hey, brilliant, you, just keep it going, don't you worry. And that management of his back four, I used to love it. And, listen, don't get me wrong, he could produce fantastic saves at big games. Yeah. But the way he managed his back four, especially when they were under pressure, Dimmy was the same. Dead calm. Dimmy was brought in, and everyone knows how well Dimmy did for the club. Not because of his fantastic saves, but because he could go out and play in front of 25,000 and keep his back four calm and relaxed. And the club got promoted, and it's just because he spoke to his back four in the right way. And I think whether you're an adult or whether you're a kid, if you speak to your people that you work with in the right way, you get the right response.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I say, we had a good sort of defence at the time. Obviously, him and the defence worked as a unit, didn't it? It wasn't just so much one defender or one goalkeeper. It was the whole defence as a unit. And that's what you always need. Everyone sort of singing off the same hymn sheet, really, isn't it?
Of course, yeah, they worked brilliant as a back five. And, Dimmy behind it was the, almost like the... the man at the front of an orchestra, the conductor just keeping them calm because they were quite young. You had Daniel Ayala, you had Ben Gibson, I can't remember who you had on the left and right, but you had quite a young back five that were under a lot of pressure, and they managed the pressure. And if I personally, like I said, look, some managers are different. I don't like that. I like the calmness and the encouragement. And don't get me wrong, you need to know that if you're not doing it, or you're being lazy, or you know that someone will say, "Come on, you need to be better." But it's all about the way you frame it for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think he's still a bit like that now, because I've been and watched him a few times playing for Thornaby, and he's just one of those. You can see he just loves the game of football, and he's using his experience to help the defenders and players at that level, which is great to see. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, thanks for that today, mate. That was I really appreciate that. Really enjoyed the chat about football and things like that.
Not a problem, mate. Anytime. And I hope everything goes well, and hopefully we all be back out doing what we all love, whether it be the personal training, whether it be the football, very soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much, mate. Appreciate that.
All right, David.
Take care, mate.
Thank you.
Ciao,
Bye, mate.